YouTube? It's Mo. Welcome to a brand new video. Today we're going to go ahead and break down Billie Eilish's CHIHIRO. The tempo for this one is 110 beats per minute, and the track is produced by Finneas. In this one, we're not going to remake it from scratch. There's a lot to this track. The video would have been at least a couple of hours long, so I figured we can just do a breakdown of everything that was involved in this track. It's an epic masterpiece of a song, so let's get to it. The song itself is broken down into, let's say, about 5 different sections. So we'll break down each one individually. Let's start off from the top. At the intro bit, we get these drums that pretty much play for the entire track, and it sounds like this. So you have the kick just on the ones and the snap. And underneath that you have a bass guitar. And for that bass sound, I am using Logic's stock bass preset sound found under bass called Dance Swirls. It is using the new bass plugin, bass instrument that we got from the latest update. And then underneath those tracks, you have this pulsating sort of synth pad type of sound. So this sound is comprised of 2 different sounds. One, this pad right here, and I'm using Logic's Alchemy, the Alone pad preset on the dark performance. And that's layered with an electric piano playing the same chords. And once again, this is using Logic's stock plugin, the vintage electric piano, the wide suitcase preset. The only thing I did on that preset was pull up the time bell sound just to get sort of that bell sound more in there. And on both of these sounds, if we go to the group track over here, I applied a instance of duck out here to give it that pulsating effect. So without it, it's very stagnant. And with it, you get that nice sort of ambient pulse. We're on the pump shape 1 preset. And then layered with that, I just applied some EQ to take out the top and bottom end, make it a little bit darker sounding. And added a little bit of distortion with Logic's Bit Crusher here, just to give it more of like a grainy texture to it. All right, moving on into the next section. We still got the drums, we still got that bass guitar, we still got that pulsating pad. And then we're gonna start to bring in these new instruments right here. So let's start off with these 3. So we have this Dobro slide guitar. It's just playing these notes right here just to give it some little bit of ear candy, if you will. I'm using Logic's preset over here. You can find it under Legacy, Logic, Guitars, Acoustic Guitars, the Dobro slide preset. The only thing I added on that is quite a bit of glide. So I put the mode to legato and pulled up the glide so that the notes are sliding. You get that sort of sliding feel to it. And then we got this sort of staccato keys behind there, playing the same chords. And that's using Logic's vintage electric piano, the deluxe modern preset. And right at the top of this pattern, we have this little blip of a sound. Once again, another ear candy, if you will. And for that sound, I designed a sound from scratch using Logic's ES2 synthesizer. And it's basically just a sine wave. And I just applied some EQ to it to give it sort of that darker sound to it, and applied some reverb to it to fill it out. So together. So in this section, we get a woodblock playing this pattern. And we get this pulsating sound as well. So for the sound, I'm also using an instance of Logic's ES2 synthesizer. Once again, it is a sine wave and it gives you that nice sort of glistening sound to it. And then once again, we are using an instance of Duckout to give you that pulsating sound. So without it, it sounds like that. With it, you get that sound that you need for the song. Moving into the next section, things are starting to get a lot bigger. This song is a nice progression into this huge moment. Now let's break down those instruments. So we added this pad right here. That's an instance of Logic's Alchemy. We are using the Alpha Pad preset on the filtered performance. Then we have this glass space over here. Once again, another pad sound from Logic's Alchemy called Glass Space. And then on the second half of this pattern, we'll just work our way down here. We have this pad here, changes up a bit. More of like an eerie type of pad sound. This is also a preset in Alchemy, the Glassy Sheen pad preset. And layered with that, we have an organ sound. Just that one chord, sustained chord there. And for that, we're also using Logic's Alchemy on the VA Church organ preset using the Intense Performance. Together, those pads in that sound sounds like this. Underneath all that, you have this bass sound. Following the bass notes of that chord progression. And for that sound, I'm using Logic's ES2 synthesizer. It's basically just a super saw, nice and wide, fat super saw played at a low octave. And I just applied some EQ to give it a little bit of a darker sound. That's pretty much all there is to it for that. And then we have these bells. It's very important for these notes to ring out, so each note is hitting the next one. And for that sound, using Logic's Alchemy, the 80s analog bells preset on the performance, sort of 50-50 between the tremolo and mellow performance. Then we have this piano sound, just to pull up that bell sound a little bit more. Playing the same pattern. This is also using Logic's new piano plugin. We're using the Soft Cinematic preset here. It's a great new piano plugin from Logic. And then layered with that, we have two more pads just to give it some atmosphere to it or some soundscapes to it. So we got After the Rain right here. It's a soundscape in Logic's Alchemy on the reflection performance. And we got this Calm Sunrise right here. Also, Logic's Alchemy, the preset's called Calm Sunrise on the Warm Drone performance. All together. Then we start to get into the good part here. This ARP sort of bell sound. So for that sound, we're using Logic's Alchemy once again on the Balinese Dawn preset, the big mallet performance. And all I really did to this one was add in a little bit of reverb. just to fill it out. And applied an instance of Logic's ARP MIDI effects plugin right here on the rate of 1 to 16 going up. That's really all there is to it. All right, so this section over here is a little bit interesting. We have this sort of string pattern. So let me play the original one right here. It sounds like this. So for that, I pulled an instance of Logic's pop strings right here. You can find it under orchestral strings, pop strings. So we took those strings and added some jitter to it. So here's what the strings sound like on its own. All right, and then I added in Logic step effects here, and it's going to give you that jitterness to it. And after that, I bounced it in place and pitched it down 1 octave. And then for this one, I took that same pattern and pitched it up 1 octave. Now, if I just use the MIDI to pitch that stuff up and down, you won't get the same artifacts that you need in there. So you have to bounce it down to audio and then pitch it that way to get that sort of grainy sort of sound. So together, it sounds like this. It's a nice little transition into this part right here. So we're getting into that huge section here. Along this whole time, it's sort of in the background, you don't quite hear it, is this ARP sound. I'll just solo it out so you can hear it. There's some automation happening here on the filter. It's opening it up very slowly. It sort of creating tension and build up to the track. For this sound, I designed it from scratch using Logic's ES2 synthesizer. Once again, it's basically just a super saw. I applied some reverb to it just to give it some space, and of course that EQ for that filtered automation, and then applied another instance of Logic's MIDI effects ARP plugin, once again on the 116 rate going up. Before we go into the next section, just want to point out there's this little sort of ear candy once again here. It's sort of this whistle sound. All right, we have that. For that, I'm using Logic's Whistler preset. You can find it under Legacy, Logic, World, European, Whistler. And to build up the anticipation, I found that there's like this pulsating synth that's happening in the background. So this sound is using Logic's Alchemy, the classic Super Saw preset. Once again, just using some EQ, some reverb, and the same Duck Up plugin for that pumping sound. All right, so to make this section even bigger than the one prior, I added in this Super Saw right here. It's sort of like a dead mouse sort of super saw type of sound. Once again, I'm using Logic's Alchemy, the Super Saw Inferno preset on the Bright Saws Performance. A little bit of reverb, EQ, I'm boosting quite a bit on the top end to give it that sparkle. Just to pull out that sort of top end to it. And then once again, another instance of duck out. And this right here is just some static white noise just to fill out this section a bit. This is just a loop from Logic's loop browser here, Static Electricity Topper 7. So just to fill out that section even more and give it the sort of that pull and pushing effect. And then moving forward, we go into a new section. I'll start off with this plucky sound. So for that melody, I designed a sound from scratch in Logic's ES2 synthesizer. Once again, it is just a sine wave, added in some reverb, and it gave you that sort of plucky sound. We get some new drums here. We get this housey style drums. Once again, this is also just an Apple loop from Apple's loop browser. I searched up house, went to beats, and found that somewhere in here, it's in the loop browser. It's an Apple loop. And then on top of that, we have some more drums. So it sounds like this. I just added in a kick, a hi-hat pattern, an open hat pattern, and a crash. And this is using Logic's electric drum kit called Bright Bass House. So all of our drums now sound like this. So here's the new guitar pattern. For that guitar sound, we are using another preset in Logic. You can find that under Legacy, Logic, Guitars, Electric Guitars, Muted Electric. And then we're using the same guitars for these two patterns right here as well. And then in this breakdown section, we have this bass right here. And for this sound, we are using Logic's Alchemy. We are using the heavy buzz bass presets. Now we're coming into the big outro. So a lot of the same sounds as we heard from before, except at the big sort of ending, sort of crescendo to it all, we have this added sound right here. You should probably hear that in context. So for the sound, I designed it from scratch using Logic's ES2 synthesizer. It's basically just a super triangle. So I got 3 triangle oscillators all mixed together using some detuning on the analog knob. And I just turned unison to make it nice and wide, and you get this sound here. Add in a little bit of reverb, a little BVQ. That's pretty much it. And all together for the big crescendo. That right there is Billie Eilish's CHIHIRO remade in Logic Pro. Let's go ahead to the top and take a listen to the full remake. So that right there is Billie Eilish's CHIHIRO remade in Logic Pro. For your Logic Pro users out there, I'm going to go ahead and save this entire session for you. Place it as a downloadable link below this video. If you don't use Logic, I got your back as well. I'm going to go ahead and export all the MIDI stems, audio stems, and of course include the drum kit that you heard in this remake. You can find that entire playback down below the like button as well. If you have a question on this or just want to chat or any suggestions for future videos, let's go and talk down below. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Later. Peace.